All right, Patreon listeners, we are back here today, Coffee with Coaches. Back here with Dakota Valley Panthers Coach Miller, off to a hot 7-0 start to the 2020 season with wins over not one, two, but three AA programs. Coach Miller, what has been your key to success, this early in the season?
I think when we came into the season, we had a lot of opportunities that a lot of teams hadn't had because we were able to start some open gyms in June. It was 25 minutes with the ball on the wall. But we actually were able to go to a couple team camps. The Summer Slam was huge for us. We had 4 players involved either in the Rising. We had 5 players involved in the Rising Stars and the Fab 50. So when we started our season, we had that experience, and then we had some kids that were playing in a national volleyball tournament with their club team, so they were practicing from May to the end of July.
Yeah, so just a lot of touches on the ball definitely helps, whether it's in the gym with the team, everything involved with that. But one thing I know that I've been super impressed with is just your guys' defense this season. I know you guys aren't the tallest team in Class A or the state at all, but with your win over Washington, your team recorded almost 23 digs per set, and anyone that knows much about volleyball knows that that's absolutely just incredible. So what do you guys talk about when it comes to that defensive mindset?
Well, number one, it's a lot of repetition. So whether we're doing an offensive drill or a partner warm-up drill, we're digging balls, we're setting balls. We have a ton of drills that are just specifically for defense. We're not, like you said, we're not real big, so we have to be really good. And, we're so athletic, but we don't have a 6'3" or 6'4" player, but we're able to make up with that with our athleticism and the training that we get in practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with that being said, your guys' offense is, just as determined. You guys kind of have a spread out offense. Is that something you guys focus on in practice, or is that just kind of come to be kind of the way you play, just kind of search for the hot hand whenever you see it?
Well, so much of setting is set, decisions on how to set and where to go to in different situations. And that's, the setter is my daughter right now. And so she's been around the game since she was a baby. So her volleyball IQ is pretty high, so I can't take the credit for that, but she makes really good choices on the court. But it's kind of been trained into her through the years, and at practice we'll stop and say, hey, that's not, the best choice. And then you use, hey, who's hot, who's not, and, her job is to look across the net and, figure out the block. Where's their shortest block, or where are we beating them at? So it's kind of a combination of things, and we're young, but we have 3 juniors that have started for 3 years on the varsity. So we've got that combination of youth, but then also some older kids that are, very, very experienced.
Yeah, just a lot of mix. And, kind of while we're on this topic, I kind of want to get to know kind of your thoughts about some individual athletes on your team. And I know we've touched on your defense earlier, but Taylor Wilshire was, at our Future 50 this past summer, and we were super impressed with her defense. And why don't you just talk a little bit about, your defensive process or your defensive success and what Taylor means and how she contributes in that sense?
Taylor's family and I go way back. Her mother played for me at Heelan and Briarcliff, and she was a defensive specialist. And Christy has coached Taylor through the youth, in club until about, I want to say maybe her 7th or 8th grade year. So she's had a great role model. And, Taylor has the best defensive posture that I've seen out of a high school player, where she just doesn't bob up and down. She stays low. She's got great tracking skills. She's just a rock back there.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we notice is just the consistency that she shows. A lot of liberos can kind of get stuck up in the emotion of the game and go up and down, but she, like you said, definitely a rock in that libero position. And I know you mentioned Logan earlier, sophomore setter, kind of trained under Allie Beersford for a couple years, but that transition has been so seamless this year. with Logan transitioning into that setter position. How did you guys kind of make that swap?
Well, having Allie in front of her last year was really, really good because then Logan could see, hey, Allie's an awesome setter. So every day in practice, Logan went against her. And again, Logan's played club volleyball since she was 9. And she plays up every year. So this year she'll play 17s instead of 16. So, and just being in the gym with me since she was born. That transition, I'm really pleased. I was, you were a little worried in that, but she's really come out and done a really nice job for us so far. And so she also got to set in practice against that team that went to nationals.
Yeah.
And so she was up against like Kenzie Foley and soccer and Allie Beardsford and Jazz DeHaan. I mean, just some really, really nice players. So every day, twice a week, she's up against them front row, back row. So I think that was a pivotal point for Logan, is the fact that she saw that she could compete at that level.
Yeah, again, kind of a lot of undercover experience under her belt that maybe we haven't seen at the high school South Dakota level, but again, that we're seeing now and we're super impressed with. And then looking at your roster, I'm looking at your top attackers, and it seems that your offense, like we said earlier, is so spread out. Between Sophia Atchison being that lefty on the right side, Rachel Rosenquist, and then Georgia Vandenhol is actually a sophomore that's gotten a lot of swings for you guys this year. So I know we kind of touched on it earlier, but that balanced offense is really, really working in your guys' favor this season.
Yes, it is. And last night we had 3 starters out due to illness and such COVID issues. And we had a junior, Maddie Stout, come in and lead us with kills with 12. Like I said before, we have kids that have been starting for 3 years. They're really, really experienced. And then they all play in the off season. But we got some younger kids sitting there. Sophie Tunnell's a freshman playing with our varsity. And again, she's played a ton of volleyball in the off season. But that balance is, like you said, the balance is really critical because you can't focus. The block can't focus on one player, and it just makes everybody's hitting a little more efficient because we get a lot of one-on-ones. So we get one blocker against us, and you're going to be successful then.
Yeah, definitely. And you can definitely see it in your 7-0 start to the season. There's no secret in that. Now you guys have kind of a big week coming up with 3 games on the schedule, one of which being a rematch of last year's Class A championship with Sioux Falls Christian. Are you guys doing anything differently this week, or what are you guys kind of focusing on in preparation for that match?
We're actually going to take a couple days on the weekend off just because we've got some, sickness going around on the team. Our main goal is to get everybody back healthy. And then, we're going to work on, again, in order to beat Sioux Falls Christian, number 1, we got to stay in system. Number 2, we got to slow them down a little bit. I'm not saying we're going to get a ton of blocks, but if we get some touches and slow them down, I think we're going to be right there with them.
Yeah, definitely. With your guys' defense, I think pairs pretty well with their offense. That is always, up to par. But I don't want to take too much of your time today, Coach. I know you got a lot going on. But we'll be watching next week. Your games are always streamed Dakota Valley on NFHS. Next game being at home against West Central on Tuesday the 22nd. So, Coach Miller, thanks so much for your time today, and good luck in the coming weeks.
Well, thank you, Haley, and thank Adrenaline for all their support and what you're doing for volleyball in South Dakota.
Yeah, of course. Got great athletes and great coaches. It's an easy job to do.